When I was a child, I lived in a valley kind of near Turin, Iowa, and we were a mile away from any neighbors. We were very remote. It was very beautiful. One night, my dad and I and a friend were gonna go for a walk. And so our lane to our house was at the end of a valley. It was 1.25 miles long, and no one else lived in the valley. So it was a really dark place. I think now you designate dark places for star watching. And so it was much like that. So when my friends from town would come out, it was very common that we would go for a night walk in the moonlight, so they could see the stars and those types of things. So my friend and I and my dad, because it was dark and in the middle of nowhere, we talked him into going for a walk with us so we weren't alone. So we took off, and we were probably about 3 minutes into our walk and just talking and looking at the stars and things. And in a side valley was a bright light, and it was just floating in the air just below the tops of the hills, probably 250, 300 feet tall. It was dead silent. There are no other trains or highways or anything anywhere near this place. So silence was normal, but not with a bright light floating in the sky. It was shocking. We stood for a minute to kind of process maybe what we were seeing. All I remember is my dad's great big bare arms coming out and pulling my friend and I close and said, I think we better get home. The lights did disappear. I remember them, 3 of them in like a triangular shape. I remember it hovering there. It didn't really move. It was just kind of stationary, and then just in seconds, just gone. And so thinking my dad would know, my dad's a farmer, owned his own business, very mechanical, would know something. He also spent time in the Air Force. And so I just thought he'd know what that flying thing was. And so I was like, Dad, what was that? And he's like, I have no idea. It bothered me for about 2 weeks to drive past that valley, but we had to go past it so many times because that was one road in and one road out of that valley. So the lane ended at my house, and so that was the only way out. So we had to drive past to that side valley where we had that sighting. If you live through the era of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, tons of people had sightings, and most of them were seen as maybe unbalanced, scary. I remember we had gone on a trip to Idaho to visit family, and on the way we stopped at Devil's Tower. That's where Close Encounters was filmed. And I was still young, right, pretty young. And I remember we were at the only convenience store that was there. We stopped to get a drink, and we were in line. And the guy in front of us had this big trench coat on, and he had all these pockets full of all these notepads, full of this alien writing, and they'd come. And I remember my dad just kind of like, get in line really close to me, and this guy had to tell his story about all these symbols and things like that. But he was obviously a little, needed some help maybe and some direction. So I'm from a very small town, so it was kind of scary for me. So I was very aware of that feeling of people maybe being scared of your story. Did I kind of think about it when I was alone at night? Sure, that type of thing, but no. And then when my brother had his sighting, he explained exactly what I had seen, and it was about 15 miles away from where I saw it, and it was 20 years later, which I thought was really weird that his details matched mine. So after that, I think I was more curious about maybe it wasn't just me, or I don't know, you just kind of second guess that, and it's not a story you want to put on your t-shirt and wear around a small town. But, yeah, so it's interesting. So I guess it would be interesting to see if there were more people that also had witnessed the same type of thing that, I don't know, that just live everyday lives. You just don't know maybe what's behind somebody's backstory, right?